frustrated gamers, this year was tainted by its many game delays. Various games were delayed for all sorts of different reasons, but here are some of the biggest that were pushed back and when you can expect to get your hands on them. First up is a delay that you guys actually seem pretty willing to forgive, in part probably just because the dev is so freaking cool. It's The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt. CD Projekt Red's third entry in their action RPG series featuring Total Silver Fox Geralt was supposed to land sometime toward the end of this year. The devs then decided it was best to push the release date back to February 24 of next year in order to achieve the quality that their fans expect from one of their games. Recently, the game was pushed back again by 3 months to May of next year, with the dev claiming they don't want to release a game riddled with bugs. CD Projekt Red have promised something huge with The Witcher 3, an enormous open world and a branching narrative, among other features. This is one of those cases where a lot of us would rather have the game we expect later than the game that's ready early. Usually, delays make fans pretty mad, but for EA it was probably a better call to delay Battlefield Hardline than it was to risk having a repeat of their launch debacle with Battlefield 4. Battlefield Hardline was supposed to land right before the huge November release period on October 21. Instead, after a disappointing beta where gamers who participated suggested that Hardline could stand to be a little more refined, EA pledged to do just that. They announced that the shooter would be delayed until March 17 of 2015, citing that they needed more time to fine-tune and deliver on the narrative. This puts enormous pressure on developer Visceral Games to produce a game that doesn't come off as simply a cops and robbers Battlefield 4 mod and won't replicate the issues of Battlefield 4. The Order 1886 was another game slated to come out in the fall of this year, which didn't quite make it. The PS4 exclusive has some pretty fancy looking visuals, and even though we still know very little about the title, it turned out to be just a bit too much for Ready at Dawn to push out before the end of 2014. According to Sony, the game is now going to be on shelves on February 20 of next year, since the dev needs more time to deliver on promises they made when they debuted the game at E3 last year. As for what those promises were precisely, well, they didn't really say, but presumably it's been pushed to prevent releasing a lackluster version of their vision. Yet another hotly anticipated game that's moved from an October release date to a February one is asymmetric multiplayer game Evolve. Due out February 10, Evolve is brand new IP from the developers of Left 4 Dead, and the level of hype is pretty damn high, so Turtle Rock Studios are playing this one safe and giving it a bit more time. Given how incredibly important it is for the multiplayer to be balanced and smooth, it's likely the dev doesn't want to pull a Halo Master Chief Collection and release something that doesn't work. To ease the blow, followers of this one have already been treated to an alpha across platforms in October, and an Xbox One exclusive beta is due in January. We've been seeing a lot of this game since its delay, but when Rocksteady initially told us to sit tight for Batman Arkham Knight, it was a tough pill to swallow. The release date that was October 14 is now set for June 2nd. Arkham Knight looks insanely cool, and Rocksteady are taking on a lot to deliver on the visuals and gameplay they've promised. Open world Batmobile joyrides and all. Warner Brothers also delayed Mad Max and Dying Light this year, so one would hope they're doing something right and not just proving that they're awful at predicting realistic development time. And finally is the most superbly vague release window of the lot. The Division burst onto the scene and then fell off the grid pretty quickly. It was pretty obvious that Ubisoft's shooter was not going to make its fall 2014 release window, particularly after a prior slew of Ubi delays. Even though we'll be lucky if this one isn't delayed further, it probably works in Ubisoft's favor that they aren't pulling another Watch Dogs delay fiasco by continuously revising more specific release dates. This third-person social shooter looks fascinating, but right now it's anybody's guess when it's actually going to land. Let me know what's your most anticipated delayed game and if you're expecting it to live up to the hype. I will catch you next week.